My name's Nicole, and I'm calling because I'm concerned about a friend of mine. I dropped her off at her house at 2 in the morning last night, and I haven't been able to get a hold of her this morning. I've gone to her house, and her car's there. She won't answer phone calls. She won't answer text messages.
Welcome to the Binge List. I am your host, Paul Chappell, and I wanted to talk about this documentary on Netflix, American Murder, The Family Next Door. Now, I originally wasn't going to watch this. I saw it on Netflix while I was looking for something else, and I saw the promo for it, and I was like, that looks kind of boring. I didn't think much of it. And then a few days ago, I had just finished my The Boys Season 2 review, my last review for that season, and now I'm kind of between seasons of The Boys and then The Mandalorian, which is coming out in a couple weeks. I didn't have really anything to watch. No good movies coming out. I was like, I said, let me just watch this thing, because then I had read that it was the most popular thing on Netflix. I said, there's got to be some kind of twist to the story, because if you watch the promo, it's fairly evident that the husband killed the wife, right? So spoilers from here on out. I'm going to spoil the heck out of this show. So don't blame me. But let's be honest, there's not a lot to spoil about this show. It's a show about a guy killing his wife and 2 children. Actually, 3 children, because his wife was pregnant. So that's what the show's about. But I kept thinking there must be something else to this. Why is it so popular? That kind of stuff happens every day. In fact, I think something like, I looked up the statistics, and it's something like nearly half of all murdered women are killed by romantic partners. Actually, it's like a little bit more than half, is like 55%. So this whole thing where women think they're going to get killed by some stranger, no, you're probably looking at the guy every day or broke up with the guy. So there's nothing really unique about this story. And I watched it, and it was like so obvious that the guy did it. He wasn't especially skilled at hiding up what he had done. I mean, he was basically the last person she had been with. And let me tell you, the cops, that's the person they're going to, well, first of all, they're going to home in on if it's a woman that disappears, the first person they're going to look at is her husband. I mean, statistically speaking, you can just flip a coin and you got a 50% chance of being right. Okay, so that's the first thing cops are going to look at. But the second thing they're going to look at is if the husband has a good alibi and everything checks out on him, the second thing they're going to look at is, well, who did she see for the last time before she disappeared? Okay, and they're going to hone in on that person. And this guy in this story, his name is Chris Watts. His wife was named Shanann Watts. He checked off both of those criteria. He was the last person she saw before she disappeared, and he's her husband. And I was kind of annoyed because I thought there was a twist to the story, and yet there was no twist. There is no twist. He killed his wife. Basically what happens is his wife went to see her parents when she was pregnant with her 3rd child. She went to see her parents for like 5 weeks. Now, my first question is, why would any woman do that? You're just asking for your man to cheat at that point. You go see your parents for 5 weeks? You're asking for trouble. Because that's so much time to be alone with your thoughts and your wife being away. You know how any kind of temptation that comes your way, knowing that your wife is not coming home for 5 weeks? I'm just saying, girls, women, I'm just saying, it's not a good idea. So that was the first mistake his wife made, I think. She admits in the documentary that she was bossy. Now, how do I know she said that she's bossy and that she's high maintenance? She said all those things about herself. And in fact, she was so heavy-handed with some of her antics. His parents didn't even come to the wedding. But how do I know all this? I know all this because she documented all this stuff on either Facebook or text messages. And that is what I realized about this documentary that made it stand out from everything else. It was the fact that they don't do like interview. Like my wife watches the ID channel a lot, or used to before we canceled our cable subscription. But she, even on Netflix, she watches all these true crime things. Okay, you watch these true crime documentaries, and most of the time they're interviewing the detective involved in the case, family members of the murder victim, reporters. They did none of that in this documentary. It was all from found footage. They took the body cameras of all the cops, and strangely enough, the cops kept their body cameras on for the whole time they were doing the investigation, which I thought was odd. They always lose those or turn off those cameras when they beat up black people or kill black people. But somehow they just kept it the whole, and this video was crystal clear, but they kept it on the whole time. So a lot of what you find out about it is how the cops found out about it. They go to the house and, her husband's at work, but one of her friends calls the police and say, look, I can't get a hold of my friend. I was calling her because she had an appointment this morning, and I called the doctor's office. This friend was very nosy, by the way. If you've already seen this, you probably agree with me. This friend was way inappropriate. Her friend called her freaking doctor to see if he had been to the appointment. Who does that? Let's just show you this guy was screwed from the beginning. But okay, so the cops ride to the house. This female friend has already been calling her husband, and her husband comes home. He's acting all squirrely. The neighbor even says the neighbor had this thing solved. The neighbor even said, there's something wrong with this guy. He doesn't act like this. He doesn't talk this much. I'm suspicious. And the neighbor had a camera over his driveway that was only activated by motions. So he showed the cops what he captured that morning because what it is, his wife got back from North Carolina, wherever she had flown to see her parents. And she was dropped off by this friend like 2 a.m. And so the only motion that had activated his neighbor's camera was at 5 a.m. when he went to work. And you can see him backing his truck into his driveway, which the neighbors say he never seen him do that before. So obviously he's putting his wife's body and his kid's body in the car. So this guy was screwed. The cops knew he was going to do it. But like I said, the one thing that's unique about this documentary is that they don't do a lot of interviews. Everything is from found footage. They show his interrogation video. They show the body cameras from the cops. They show all her text messages. You can just see the disintegration of their marriage. The fact that he wouldn't sleep with her in those last few months they were together. The red flag. He was working out for some reason. The cops even picked up on that. They were like, I've seen old pictures of you, but now you're all buff. Your wedding pictures, you were overweight, but now you're all buff. Or you have another woman. And of course he did have another woman. And I'm going to tell you right now, women, if you're out there listening and you don't want something like this to happen to you, I got to say, first of all, do your research on these guys. I just felt like this woman wanted him to be something he wasn't. And she just paid with her life. And when he got this mistress, she was doing something for him in the bedroom. And I have no evidence of this, but it was just my feeling watching this documentary. She was his girlfriend, his mistress on the side was doing stuff that I guarantee you his wife wasn't willing to do. And that's another recipe for disaster. And I mean, the other thing I would say is that some of this is societal. Some of the what men have to pay for in child support. I mean, basically, if you leave a woman these days, you're not going to have a life. You know, we can go way back to the O.J. Simpson case. O.J. Simpson was paying his wife $4,000 a month for food. You know, if you watch the whole Chris Rock comedy routine about this, you already know where I'm going with that. But yeah, nobody needs $4,000 a month for food. And yet, for somehow, these women convince these judges to give them that kind of support. And it doesn't make any sense. So I think the fact that this girlfriend of his mistress, was doing something in the bedroom. She was a younger woman. And his wife wasn't that bad looking. That's another thing. She was not. She was a pretty good looking woman. But I guarantee you, like I said, she was doing some stuff in the bedroom, and he probably was willing to do anything to keep that going, and he did do anything to keep it going. That, coupled with the fact that he was going to lose everything if he divorced her, and probably his girlfriend too, because who wants to date a guy who's living in a studio apartment? I mean, I don't know how much money he made, but still, divorce will ruin most men. If you're a typical male who makes between like 40 and 100,000 a year, a divorce will kill you. So most men just end up, hey, I'd rather not pay that child support. And I gotta kill her, I'm gonna kill her. That's just the harsh reality. Sometimes you gotta get out of a relationship before he can make that kind of assessment of his life. So yeah, that's about it. I mean, there were some things that really annoyed me about this guy because I felt like he should have known certain things. Like, for instance, the cops asked him to do a polygraph, and anybody that watches police procedurals, you know, Law and Order, SVU, or whatever, anybody should already know that polygraphs are not admissible in court. So if a cop asks you to do a polygraph, I always say no, even if you're innocent. And you're probably thinking, well, they'll think I'm guilty. They already think you're guilty. If they're having that interview with you, and if, like I said, statistically, if your wife is dead or missing, they're going to blame you anyway. So why do a polygraph? It made no sense. And as soon as the polygraph came back as being deceptive, showing that he had lied, he confessed. And that's another thing. You don't ever talk to police, especially if they consider you a suspect. Why give them any ammunition? So the guy in this story was just annoying because he's just so dumb. And the fact that he didn't plan out anything, he basically buried his wife at his job site. I mean, how long was it going to take for the cops to figure that out? If the guy had to have killed his wife in this span of time, and he went to work and showed up to work on time, it's obviously he buried him within either between where he lives and where he works or at his job. And he literally worked in an open field in some kind of oil rig. So he was not going to get away with this. And plus, everybody has a freaking camera in these neighborhoods. They got these Ring cameras. Just people have cameras, especially in the neighborhood he lives in. It was kind of upscale. Not the most upscale neighborhood I've ever seen, but pretty upscale. I actually did some research about this, and they're actually saying that nobody wants to buy that house. It was foreclosed on now. This happened like in 2018. So that the house is sat empty, had no prospective buyers since 2018. The house is valued at $645,000. The lender foreclosed on it. It went to auction. No bids on this house. I can't blame people. Who would want to live in that house? Weird thing is that Shanann's family sued him for $6 million and won a wrongful death settlement. I'm like, did he really have some money? I didn't get the feeling that he had that kind of money. So they're never gonna collect that. So I don't understand why they would go through the trouble of actually suing him when he's in prison. So yeah, it was kind of interesting just from the way it was shot or not shot, the way it was edited and the way the filmmaker collected all this archival footage, found footage. The director's name is Jenny Popplewell. And yeah, she did a pretty good job with this. I can see why people would be interested just from the standpoint of how it was put together. But that's all I got for today. I'd like to thank my subscribers and encourage you. Hit that subscribe button, give me a like, dislike, whatever, and a comment down below if you got any questions or comments that are significant. I would like to hear them, and I will reply to you. But that's all I got for today, and I will see you when I see you. Thanks for watching.